There we go. We're live.
Yes,
I made it.
You did.
6:59. See, I'm banking those minutes.
You almost used one up today, man.
I did. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
All
good
right,
to see you,
all
my
right.
friend.
Good to see you as well, man.
Good to see you. And happy holidays to everyone out there. Hopefully, we'll see each other another one or two times before the year's end here. But it is the holiday season. I think oftentimes we get so enamored with all that's going on,
Yes.
people coming and going, wishing us well, but we really want to say happy holidays.
Yeah,
Merry
absolutely.
Christmas to you,
Yep.
too. Oh, man. So
What are we talking about?
I got lots of stuff here.
Okay.
So I'm going to start out with the funniest thing I've seen all week.
Okay.
Okay. I'm guaranteed. Well, I'm not going to guarantee it, but I'm suspecting this might have missed your
Okay.
radar.
It could have.
I mean,
Let's hear it.
okay. So did you see that there is going to be a Doritos brand liquor?
What the fuck? Are you serious?
I'm serious. As
let me ask the first question.
Okay,
What type
yeah,
of
of
liquor?
course
What type
you
of
will.
liquor is it going to be?
So I used to drink a lot in my anymore, if anything. So I had to kind of unwind that. And they didn't define it like, is this a rum? Is this a vodka? They basically defined it as just a distilled liquid. But it's going to be called
What?
It's going to be called Doritos flavored hard liquor.
Why?
Empirical Dorito and nacho cheese vacuum distilled liquored spirit is described as capturing all the indulgent flavors of your favorite nacho cheese in liquid form.
First of all, let me. Okay, I got to unwind this a little bit or unpack this a little bit.
I figured I'd hit you out from left field to start, right?
First of all, who said, "Huh"? I feel like I want to drink my Doritos and get drunk by doing it. Like who is the first person that said that? Who in that company's product development department is like, great idea.
Do you know the company that owns that owns Doritos?
Who?
PepsiCo.
I mean, but my thing is like that is just, I mean, think about that. Like Doritos. And here's so let's take it one step further. Here's the problem now. We want to keep kids away from alcohol, right? Now you're bridging the gap between childhood and adulthood because like my daughters eat Doritos. Like they have them in our house. So now are you going to entice kids to drink? Like, hey, you don't got to drink this shitty, White Tavern vodka like we could do in college. You can drink your Doritos and get fucked up doing it. Like that is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard.
Okay, so a 750 milliliter bottle, which is a standard bottle of liquor. The retail cost on that is pegged at $65. I'm not kidding.
Who's going to buy this?
I'm just delivering
when
the
is
news.
When is this coming out to?
It's available for. It has been available for pre-order in the past couple of weeks, I think.
So people are literally going to buy a $65 bottle of alcohol that is flavored like Doritos.
Well, let me finish this here. It says the drink, which goes on pre-order Wednesday, which would been that'd be actually tomorrow.
Okay,
is a new marketing ploy aimed at Doritos fans. It also marks the first ever spirit based entirely around the flavor of a Doritos product. It will also be available next month online and in select stores in New York and California. Naturally.
Okay.
For $65 for a 750 milliliter bottle.
Go back to the statement where they said this is the first time this has ever been done. Did anybody ever think that that's just something that probably shouldn't be done? Some things are better left unsaid, undone. I don't understand. I cannot fathom who came up with this idea. And two, who put money behind it and said it's a good idea. Let's do this. Like I love Doritos. There's a lot of foods I love. I don't want to drink the flavor of that to get fucked up.
Okay, so you and Laura are out on let's say it's been a tumultuous week.
Okay.
Right? Because you've had a few of those recently. In a good way, but very, very busy.
Very tumultuous all the time. Yes.
Okay. So let's say it's a typical week for Rocco. Laura and Rocco are out one of the finer eating establishments in town here and trying to blow off a little steam in a relaxed fashion.
Okay.
Are you inclined to you're waiting at the bar for your
Yeah.
table. Are you inclined to order? Give me your finest IPA, and then on the side, give me a shot of Doritos liqueur.
No. I mean, if I heard those words come out of my mouth, like I would kick my own ass. Like, I don't understand that. Like that is, and again, I get the gimmick, right? Okay, you're trying to like nostalgia. It's gimmicky, like, but why? Like, just let things be the way they are. We don't have to turn everything into nostalgia or into something it's not. Doritos are good because they're Doritos.
Oh,
They are a corn
you would
chip that is
think.
a triangle that tastes delicious. Do I want that to be blended up and mashed into alcohol and flavor? Like, no, I don't want to do that.
Especially because we have other kinds of, spicy,
Yes.
rums and vodka.
You can have a spicy margarita, jalapeno margarita. I'm not a big drinker anymore anyways.
Oh, okay. So while we're on the vibe of edibles, food, and so forth, have you seen McDonald's, or have you seen anything about McDonald's? Cosmics.
Yeah. What is this now?
Okay, so the best I can understand, and again, I'm reading verbatim because I want to make sure I get it clear.
Okay.
Cosmics with an MC apostrophe S is a new spin-off restaurant idea from McDonald's. It's been described as a small format concept with all the DNA of McDonald's.
Okay.
Like, that's a fantastic thing anyways.
Okay.
But it's got its own unique personality. It seems the company plans to lean into the space. Again, let me make sure I get this right, because this is gonna take your mind and go poof.
My mind's already fucking blown.
It seems the company plans to lean into the space-based futurism of the past aesthetic associated with cosmics. So let's read that again. It seems the company plans to lean in to the space-based futurism of the past.
So basically,
aesthetic associated with cosmics.
So basically, you're saying we're going to lean into what people in the past thought the future looked like. That's what that says.
I think yes. Yeah, I think if the average person reads that, that's kind of the vibe they will get if they ask the next question.
Yeah.
But immediately their minds are going to go to the Jetsons.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's exactly right. Because the Jetsons came when I was a kid, I watched it, and that's what we thought the future was, right? Flying cars.
Something's right, something's wrong.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and again, look, if every restaurant, every brand has the right to do things, and maybe this works for McDonald's. Maybe they need something different. Is it just going to be a redesigned smaller McDonald's that sells the same quarter pounders? Like, I don't know. Like, is it a whole new menu? Like, that's the one thing I don't know. Is it a whole new menu, a cosmic menu that's completely different than McDonald's?
I think it's going to be elements of the existing McDonald's menu with like twists. Let me further just extrapolate here. It says McDonald's has had success in the nostalgia market lately, having rolled out adult Happy Meals. Did you see that bullshit?
No. When did
you missed that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Adult Happy Meals. So basically what they're doing is they're creating Happy Meals.
Okay.
Because we're just so soft today.
What is in an adult Happy Meal?
Well, I'm assuming it's crafted in the same cardboard that reminds people of the feeling of getting their Happy Meal in the 70s and 80s. Because they rolled out the adult Happy Meals last year before reintroducing the Hamburglar in April and the Grimace in June.
Okay.
With special birthday meals and purple shakes.
I remember seeing the purple shakes. I do remember seeing that. And look, here's the thing. So I think everybody like our age can resonate with the nostalgia of McDonald's, right? Like, I remember as a kid, like Happy Meals, like that was a great thing. It was like, I remember getting the Muppets toys in them.
Especially for those parents who rarely ever take their kids to McDonald's.
Yeah, and it was like, so when you go in the Monopoly game, I remember playing the Monopoly game. But again, it's like some things are just like, just let it be nostalgia. We don't have to keep reinventing it to try and connect with people. Like, that's the problem I have with what brands do sometimes. Like, I have the memories of McDonald's, right? You want to try and reinvent them to get me to be nostalgic. I look at it differently. I look at the brand differently. Like, to me, like, that doesn't bring me nostalgia. It's like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what is cosmics? Like, I don't understand that. Like, it has nothing to do with the brand, right? You put the MC at the end, so it attaches to the brand that way. But it's, I have a hard time when brands do that stuff, because there are certain things that are better just left to be.
So it's like a double-edged sword. If you are a legacy brand that's been around a long time, I'm sure you have certain products or certain promotions that quote unquote hit.
Sure.
Well. So I know why you want to revisit that. My argument is it stifles the idea of progress, and I'm not confusing progress with the philosophy of progressivism. That's not what I mean. But the progress of business and moving forward with new ideas and so forth. I think that we sometimes Hollywood's a great example of this. If you paid attention to the past 30 years, Hollywood is in a regurgitation mode where I think ideas have somewhat kind of dried up, and the idea of going back and redoing movies that had success with new characters, new spins, new ideas, with new people playing certain parts. It's kind of a regurgitation of what was hit at one time. Let's put a new spin and get a cash grab out of it. No different than what I think is happening here.
Well, but also I think just society is now going backwards, like looking back at things. And I'll give you an example. There's this one YouTuber. He's a fitness guy. He's a 21-year-old kid. His name's Sam Sulik. He's literally just this huge fucking 21-year-old. And remember, like 10 years ago, people were shooting just long form YouTube videos that just, there was no crazy cinematic edits. It was just like a dude talking and just going through their day. This dude started doing this, I think, just this year, like within a year, long form. Like, he just records his workouts and him talking in the car. No editing, literally just that. Millions of followers. He's making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month off of YouTube. He's a college kid. He's in college. Still lives at home with his parents sometimes. And it's like, and people watch his videos because they want that, like, things have gotten too crazy.
Is it slower, maybe easier to follow?
I think that's why. I think we got past that point of information overload, where like people have gotten so overloaded. It's like, I don't need all this shit. They're looking for simplicity now. Like, for that dude who's literally, he's this huge dude, has long fucking hair. He's not like a super attractive guy, but he's got a personality. He's just,
it sounds like he's real.
He's a real dude. Like, I've watched some of his stuff. I'm like, he's actually like a normal kid. Like, he just talks, but he's fucking strong as shit. But it's literally 40 to 60 minute videos. Like, every single day he posts one, every day. And there's no cinematic edits. It's literally just taking from your iPhone or your camera, putting them all together and uploading it.
Like, so he's going through his day and also carrying on a conversation with you.
He's literally talking in his car to a camera, and then he like puts up a tripod at the gym and he's working out and just talking, and he keeps a mic on it. He wears a hat, so he has his mic on his hat, so his camera can be over there and he can talk, and that's what he does.
I mean, in some ways, it's kind of a validation of what long form podcasting is.
Yeah.
You know, a solo, but it's like, you know, basically people kind of crave what they don't get exposed to.
And this kid is making stupid amounts of money. Like, like his followers, like, I want to say he has like 30 million followers between all his platforms. This is in a year.
Yeah.
Like, crazy. So I think people are kind of,
what's the next MySpace?
I don't know. But I think, again, we've gotten past overload, and that's what I think is happening.
It's too fast now.
I think we're trying to do too much. So people are somewhat regressing, right? Take the McDonald's thing. Okay, it's nostalgia, but it's this limited menu, right?
For sure.
So it's like, we have so much shit, we're gonna just make it limited and go back in time. And I think probably is somewhat of a smart play. I understand that, but I still believe in certain things just should not be changed. Like, just let it be, you know. But I see why they're doing it, because that's where we are in society. People are looking for less choices, like, you know. Like, and I think the reason why people like this dude's videos, because they're not these 10-minute videos. We got to pick the next one. It's like they can sit there for an hour and watch this dude mindlessly, not be crazy edited, not like have lights flashing, not trying to figure out.
They're buying in.
Yeah, they're just buying in and listening to the dude talk. It's less thought they have to put into it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time in society.
Conversational.
It is. It's conversational.
They're not being like verbally assaulted. And I don't mean in a negative way, like you're being hurt, but your sensibilities are being assaulted with just content.
He's just talking about like going to the gym and working out, and like, you know, I drink chocolate milk in the morning when I'm bulking, and I eat this when I'm not, and it's literally just basic shit.
Yeah.
And he's just talking, like it's not animated, it's just, but people like it and watch it.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's very interesting.
I think now, what I thought initially was that McDonald's was going to try, and maybe they are trying to take a small portion of Starbucks revenue, because that you create that little niche thing. Because I'm assuming this Cosmics is going to have different kinds of coffee and things.
Okay,
on top of the other offerings,
it may.
But it asks the bigger question, like, have you ever, because we're both roughly the same age. I got a few years on them.
That's a big statement.
Just a couple, maybe.
It's a big statement.
But we grew up in the era and the proliferation of Starbucks, whether we were paying attention or not. At the time it was happening.
Yeah.
We woke up one day and realized
Starbucks till law school, man.
Well, we woke up that one day and realized, holy shit, it's in vogue right now to pay $4.50 for a tall black coffee. How the fuck did that happen? So my point is, when you're a competitor of that and you're looking at that, you're saying, holy shit, that's got to be a huge market there. So now, no one, I think Caribou Coffee years ago tried.
Yeah.
There's been others, Tim Hortons in Canada, and maybe they've tried, but no one really has rose to the level of prestige in the States as Starbucks. And I've been waiting for something. And I wonder if maybe this indirectly might be a play for a portion of that.
No, I think you're gonna have a hard time doing that, because I think Starbucks is Starbucks. Other coffee shops there's gonna be nothing that competes with Starbucks, because Starbucks has almost become a noun. Like, I look at it like the same way FedEx. Like, people say I'm gonna FedEx something. Like, I'm gonna FedEx something. Like, so it's like become the verb of sending something.
Yes.
Like, Starbucks, like, I'm gonna go get a Starbucks.
Yeah.
That may mean you're just going to get a coffee somewhere, but a lot of people just refer to it as, I'm gonna go get a Starbucks.
How powerful that is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they have such a powerful brand. They don't give a fuck about McDonald's. They're like, you're a fucking burger joint that makes their coffee's good. But they don't. But
surprisingly good.
But here's the problem. Okay, so here's why it won't work. McDonald's doesn't pay like Starbucks does, right? So they don't get the quality of employees. Starbucks employees have to have some skill to make those drinks. You're just getting anybody in McDonald's. It just kind of, because it's very process oriented, right? It's a system. That's why McDonald's works, because that's how the whole franchise started. They made processes.
And there's a stigma with the brand. I mean, to a certain portion of the population,
there is.
It doesn't hold the prestige.
It's not a high-end brand. It's not a high-end
hold
brand.
The prestige.
Like, I'll eat a fucking quarter pounder, no problem. Like, they're delicious, but it's not like it's not a high-end place. Like, I don't look at it like that. Like, I'll get a coffee.
So is this Cosmic an attempt to maybe try to bridge that, you think?
I do. And I think McDonald's has tried this in the past and it's never worked. They've done like the burgers that had like the lettuce and the tomato on the side.
The thicker meat burgers.
Yeah, like they try to do all this high-end shit. It never works. Like, that's what I'm saying. McDonald's just be McDonald's. Cheap burgers, cheap cheeseburgers, and great fries. Just stick with that.
So the fact that never seems to happen, is that a human frailty that we all kind of somewhat have?
What will be the frailty?
That we have a success formula. Let's say we're lucky enough to have a success formula in what we're doing, and it seems like a portion of those folks will blow it all up in an attempt to constantly improve or do something different, as opposed to the quote unquote rockhead who sees the success formula and then capitalizes on the growth of that success formula and is comfortable in that fucking lane.
Yeah. So I think you have to be aware enough to be able to adjust if needed. So I think in business, right? If you look at business, if I have a success formula, I'm going to utilize that formula until I can't anymore, right? If I start seeing things change in the marketplace or seeing my revenue slip, then I've got to make an adjustment and say, okay, what am I going to do differently? How do I reinvent this? I don't think they need to do that because they've been around so long. Who do they compete with? Burger King? Burger King doesn't compete with them. Like, they are that burger fast food provider. Like, people are always going to want McDonald's. McDonald's is never going to go away. Let's be realistic. The U.S. is never going to be a health first country. It's the truth though. But let's call it like it is.
So true.
It's never. We have too many lobbyists in healthcare. You know, they're constantly trying to keep people sick, keep people overweight so they can make money off of drugs. We don't focus on wellness here. So that's never going to change unless we scrap the entire lobbyist system and break down that whole thing. So you're going to have people that we're always going to be unhealthy in this country. So McDonald's is always going to play that because it's cheap. You can get a 1,000-calorie meal for under $6. You know what I mean? To go to a quality restaurant, it's going to be $30 to do that. And with inflation now and the economy, like people are going to go there more.
Have you ever given serious thought over what's happened over the last 30 or 40 years in regards to America and their love of eating out and how that happened?
I never really thought about how it happened.
I'm not sure I know how it happened, but I do recognize everything that I've read and observed over the past 30 years. I'm older than Rocco.
Yes.
But if you're just watching how, because I would be willing to say to lower income to middle income people, if you were to ask them how you were raised, and you were asked those folks in their 50s, 60s, and ask them, when you were younger, did your parents take you out to eat on a regular basis? Now, granted, there wasn't as many eateries, chain eateries, but eating out was kind of like a special thing or a rare thing for a lot of middle-class families. We raised sons of the same age.
Yeah.
You know that them going to Applebee's in the middle of the week on a Wednesday night sometimes is just part of their routine.
Right.
Dropping $40, $50 on food is part of their routine.
Right.
So what I'm saying is the eating out thing has become, over the past couple of decades, mainstream.
Yeah, it has. Absolutely.
Food has been baked into a larger expense.
It's a cultural experience. Like people equate food with the experience of it, right? Because think about it, like you don't see people going out to eat by themselves. They go out for the experience, right? Because that's why I think it's created, because there's so many more places now. So there's so much more experience to have. And I think that's a way that people socialize. Like that's what we do. Like we'll go out there just to like go be out of the house.
Okay.
Now we also I find myself on the weekends, like we probably order DoorDash 2 or 3 times out of the convenience of it. And so it's like I cook during the week, or Laura cooks during the week. Like I prep all my food during the week. So on the weekends, I don't want to have to deal with that. So we'll just order something healthy off DoorDash.
Yeah.
So it's like I can do all kinds of other shit. And then when the food gets there, I can eat. So I'm saving myself a half hour to an hour prep time. That's how I look at it. But like with our kids, like, yeah, it's a cultural thing. Like I remember Gabe was just in Chicago for this Model UN, and he like texted me. He's like, oh man, he's like, so expensive here. He's like, can you Venmo me some money? I'm like, okay. So I Venmo him some money. 5 minutes later, he sends me a picture of this fucking sushi joint he's at, like this big ass piece of sushi. I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck? He's like, well, his statement was, he's like, the whole group was going, so I didn't want to be left out. I'm like, and I get, and that's when it clicked. Like, it's the social aspect of it.
Okay,
like he would have went to Chipotle, but because his entire group went there, they went there.
Yeah, and maybe that's the difference, because there's so many more eateries, and somehow we've convinced society that this is part of the socialization, which is ironic because the last 4 or 5, 6 years, it seems like we're not going out talking to each other much anymore. But someone's still spending money on food, whether it's takeout or whatever. It's just fascinating to me, because going to McDonald's as a lower income family as a child was like a 1 in a month shot.
Yeah, we didn't go very often.
Thing you go to McDonald's.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Now people go to McDonald's drive-thru every day and spend $5 on an iced coffee with cream and sugar.
Yeah, I mean, every Thursday I take my daughter Ellie to Starbucks in the morning. It's $25. Literally every Thursday.
Oh, I have to reload my children's Starbucks card. I've been doing that for years, and I always think, I'm like, man, this is a strange world.
Yeah, like I started doing the math in my head. I'm like, huh? She has 9 weeks of school times 4, 36 weeks. We spend $25 every time. That's like a lot of money. But it's time with my daughter, and she enjoys it, and so it's worth it. But it is like society is so different now. Like we wrap experiences around the food, and
I'm not saying that's entirely bad. But if you look around, when you go to the mall and you observe, maybe it is bad. I'm not really sure exactly.
Again, I think other countries do it too, right? Like Europe, they always eat out, but the food's made differently there. They focus on health and wellness. They don't have the health problems we do.
They also seem to embrace appropriate portionality.
Also true.
What they consume.
But and also I think about it, like, and I started researching, or not research, but listening to all these podcasts on like the way food's made, and like over there, because the grains are made differently. One, they fill you up faster. So like here, when you put all these additives in it, right? they don't fill us up quick because they want us to buy more.
I don't think that. So I think not to drive down too deeply in
Mhm.
there, but I believe the seeds that create the wheat over
Mhm.
there are more pure as opposed to what we hear are hybrid seeds, which are actually created to create a psycho reaction in us to create a craving for it, almost
Yeah.
like a I don't know if it's sugar related, I don't know what it is, but the food we eat is, I think, engineered
Mhm.
to trigger something to enable us to continue to not feel full and to want more of it.
Yeah, I was listening to one of the podcasts, I think it was Gary Brecken, he was talking about riboflavin or something that's put on grains here that makes it like we all have this this methylated deficiency, and that makes us feel like shit after we eat bread and pasta. When you go to like Europe or Italy and they don't use that in their grains, that's why people never feel
You
like
can
shit.
walk away from the table.
Right. It's like you feel normal. Like you don't feel like sloppy pig after eating all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a 10-year-old book, maybe 12, 13-year-old book called The Wheat Belly. And I can't remember the name of the author, but that book back in 2012 really changed my life. That and a book called from Mark Sisson called it was an introduction to the paleo without going
primal. It was a
primal blueprint.
Primal blueprint. Yeah, I read that.
Really,
that
and those two really opened my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, as to what
100%.
about what wheat is and how some wheat products are affecting us worse than eating an entire Snickers bar. It's really an eye opener.
Yeah, I mean, you have to really understand food. Like it's, and I try. I'm like learning more because I'm really interested in it. It's just how just because I'm looking at my life. I'm 46 years old, right? Like I run a firm. I have to do all these things. I need to make sure I'm operating efficiently and my body's functioning efficiently. So I started looking at like, okay, like I take care of myself. Let's like, what's the next thing I can do? Understanding what's in the food. Is something in this food making me feel a certain way? Am I deficient in something? And it's just interesting when you go on those rabbit holes and see like how much shit there is out there.
Sometimes, again, it sounds conspiratorial, and I don't mean it that way, but it gives you the feeling when you dive deep enough that we're almost being preyed on.
Oh yeah,
we're being preyed on, and well, manipulated certainly, but I mean, like we're almost being preyed on in the aspect that they want to feed us this certain way with these certain chemicals because we know our reaction generally will be this, and potentially consume more of their product.
Well, yeah, I mean, what was it that I read? They were talking about why they started like selling sausage and bacon. Like it was like years ago. They said because they were trying to sell it, so they started pushing breakfast. Like breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Like eat sausage, eat bacon, because they were trying to like sell these pork products that weren't selling. So they kind of, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was one of the big proponent of breakfast, and he worked with all these food industries to get like the wheat and the dairy and the pork to like be part of breakfast. Let's push breakfast, the most important meal of the day.
Yeah, and then you have many people talking about the benefits of fasting through the morning, and there's all different times. But I did read one very interesting essay years ago that somewhat blamed our wheat abuse, because this country's definitely got a lot of wheat abuse, and it's being, we're not completely guilty ourselves of it, but we're being force fed it. Going back to when Nixon was in office and they were trying to find ways to feed the third world, and I guess that by bastardizing the wheat germ or the wheat seed, they found that there certain variants would actually take root and grow quicker.
Interesting.
So that farming idea with these bastardized wheat germs were able to be farmed here and also over in Africa and other third world countries, certain third world countries. And it basically was in theory, was a better way to feed the world. But you had some big agricultural firms that grabbed a hold of this stuff, regardless of what it was doing to the actual synthesis within the body. Like
interesting.
To find a pure wheat seed almost today on the earth right now is almost impossible. One that hasn't been hybrid and do you know what I mean? Like it's almost impossible.
They've been engineered. Right. The whole food system is crazy right now. I mean, it really is.
All right. So moving along here. So I just want to ask you a general question. So the Republicans are going to have I think they're scheduled for the fourth and final debate before the primaries.
Okay.
But it may not happen, I understand, because they have I don't think Viswami, and Christie aren't going to qualify based upon parameters. And Nikki Haley has been non-committal about appearing. So we might not have this fourth and final debate before the primaries.
Interesting.
Broad question.
Okay.
Do you think, playing Nostradamus, do you think it's possible, what the potential is that Donald Trump, who's going to be the obvious nominee for Republican, that he will look at this current field out there and make a political strategic decision and choose somebody as his potential running mate? Or do you think we're going to see maybe a surprise, someone that just, that maybe comes out of the blue?
That's tough. I mean, so there's been talk of Tucker Carlson, that people have said that,
which should be way out in left field.
That'd be way out in left field. I mean, that would. I don't know. It's tough because
RFK would be way out in left field.
That would be, but that would be an interesting one, because that would be a really interesting one. Like DeSantis, I don't think, because I think there's too much animosity between them. Maybe they could turn that. I mean, I think that could be a possibility. Vivek, like, I like him, but like you said before the show, like, I don't know if this is his time.
His time, yeah.
And they're two businessmen. But I think he would be a good counterbalance, like to the as youth, right? Nikki Haley, I don't know.
She checks off a lot of markers. Though.
Yeah, but my thing is, like, they haven't been on a debate with him,
no.
So we don't know how they're going to react to him. And it's going to be interesting, because I'm waiting for them to pull Biden. Because the Hunter Biden stuff came out, like they had that indictment now for all the tax fraud. Like, I feel like they're setting it up to remove him. Like, hey, there's too much shit. Like, you got to get out. And he's just going to be like, I need to take care of my.
The Speaker of the House just today, as of this filming, I think he mentioned they're going to start the articles of impeachment, or at least open up the impeachment inquiry.
Yeah. He talks about that.
That's the first step of then going to the article of impeachment.
But when you have the president's son being indicted for tax fraud, like, literally, did you see some of the shit he was writing off?
Yeah,
like escorts.
And I got it from all networks. I even went to MSNBC.
That's how you know. That's how you know it's the media setting up his downfall.
Yeah,
because they're think of the timing of it, right? We knew about this shit for how long?
They weren't defending Hunter Biden over there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But we've had this laptop. We've known about this shit for years. Perfect timing, right? Coming into January, he gets indicted. Now all the left-wing media is picking it up. They're basically, like, this is some crazy shit he did. Like, they're not defending him at all. Then it's going to come down to, is Biden's last act of office to pardon his son? And then they'd be like, hey, dude, like, that's it. You're gone. Like, go take care of your addict son. Like, and he went on Moby's podcast recently. First of all, I didn't even know Moby had a podcast.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he's the victim.
Yeah. So
like, he's a victim. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Of course.
Well, I think he used some rather choice language and said those mother efforts are out to destroy me. And it's like,
you destroyed yourself.
My argument's this. Like, a good friend of mine, my great friend Jim Stewart, mentioned to me the other night. He said, all the drama, put it aside for a second. He was in possession, according to these records, of plenty of money to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
He was in possession of the money. He just chose not to.
Correct.
That's the end of the story.
Correct.
The rest of it is all just fodder for the news media. For those who want to defend him and those who don't. But he was in possession of the money. So he just made a decision not to pay. And now he needs to answer for that.
And he's talking about being the victim. Like, he spent money on rehab. Like, it was like in 16, 17, 18. Then in 19, 20 didn't go. So it's like, what, you were trying to get help. There's help out there. Then you want to play the victim. And then, that's, it's not because I didn't pay the taxes. It's because I'm an addict. It's like, no, pay the fucking taxes.
It's like a very liberalist type of mentality to the whole thing, right? The trying to play emotions as opposed to the facts of what's actually happening.
I don't even know that that's liberal or conservative. I think
that's weak.
I think it's weak for strong.
Certainly.
So I know people that are conservatives that play the victim.
Yeah, but the emotional play over emotions over substance when it comes to public opinion. I
know plenty of conservatives that do that. Maybe not across the board on all things.
Agreed.
But there are times where I can think of 3 or 4 instances off the top of my head of people I know that are conservative that have used emotion to deflect something. Like, it's not my fault. I'm just sad.
Yeah, George Santos.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. But it's like there's plenty of.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. So I guess my question is, you actually right now internally are not settled on any particular potential candidate?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
It's going to be odd. It's a
the next 6 months are going to be wild.
It is going to be wild. I think once we get through the December holiday here and we get into January, I think all bets are off. 'Cause I think the Iowa caucus is in January, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think January or February. I think January.
End of January, I thought it was.
It's going to be wild.
That's going to be. So the war that no one thinks about anymore is the Russia-Zelensky thing. And I don't have any particular details on that, but President Zelensky was in the States, I guess, and he met with President Biden. He met with the House Speaker, and he met with the Senate leaders. And I guess the resolution, I don't know if, again, I'm pleading ignorance. I'm not sure if the president can arbitrarily on his own, spend this money, but it seems like from what I read that President Biden's going to send Ukraine another $400 million in aid / military. What I find fascinating about all this, because I think that we're into the billions now, what we've given them so far.
Multiple billions.
But ironically, if you dig a little deeper, both on Fox and CNN's websites, this same story is on both. It also said the Biden administration is planning on quietly, and that word quietly was used actually on both websites.
Okay.
Quietly fund or / help supplement the funding of California's electric train. I guess there's a electric bullet train, which is greatly over budget, and they're doing that to the tune of over $3 billion. So again, I'm looking at proportionality where it's a huge world event where the leader of this small nation, who's been receiving funds from the U.S. and there's $400 million there, which is a shit ton of money. That's a huge news story on everything. But here, quietly on the backside, President Biden's thinking about supplementing the funding, and I think it might be something to do with an electric train that was going to go from either San Fran or Los Angeles to Vegas. That's kind of like the route they're thinking of doing. This
pretty good route.
Electric train, I guess, is it's like 6 years overdue and way over budget. But President Biden is trying to quietly provide $3 billion.
Well, when you say quietly trying, like, what does that mean? Just not call news attention?
I don't know
get the approval of Congress.
I don't know what that means. Like, I don't really. I wanted to believe that the legislature spends money, like the president can propose things, right? But ultimately, the legislature, the House of Representatives, has to approve it. Bang.
Yeah, they have to approve this.
But I'm also of the belief too, from what I've seen over the past couple of decades, it seems like the administrative branch seems to have a shit ton of certain on his signature to just spend money.
Yeah, and I think there are certain executive orders they can. There's certain executive orders they can.
$3 billion executive order to fund California.
Well, I don't know if that. I don't know that that's going to happen. I mean, that'll be interesting to see if that actually plays out. Because again, a lot of these news media outlets just kind of throw shit on the wall and see what sticks. Like that. That's the problem with a lot of this stuff. A lot of these news outlets, and no one holds them accountable. That's the problem.
Okay.
Like they just don't like they just do what they want because they know no one's gonna, like. I have a client right now. I had to send a couple of cease and desist letters on behalf of this client for false news reporting, and they don't give a fuck. They don't take it down. They know you're not going to spend the money to litigate it. And it's just like they just do whatever they want. Like they just make shit up. Like truly make stuff up. Completely false.
And then it gets retracted, or it gets a revision the next day.
Like very small back page. Like, oh, it's already down our feed. No one fucking can see it. They play the game.
Why hasn't there ever been like a landmark, like ruling where the retraction or revision needs to have the same prominence as the initial story? You know what I mean? Like that, you think someone would sue for that, and maybe there would be a landmark thing.
But what's the legal standard to determine that? Like that's the thing. Like
attorney, I don't know.
Well, there isn't one, right? There isn't one. You have freedom of press, freedom of speech. So it's like you can't force them to say, "Hey, you have to make it just as big as the story." Like, what are the parameters of that? Like it's just it's a
seems
complexity
so damn
to
unfair,
it.
though.
Life's unfair, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't expect life to be fair, but in that particular circumstance, it really, when you talk about character assassination potentially, or the wrecking of someone's business potentially, it's almost like.
But there's also the flip side of it. Like, look, if you're going to go into the public life,
It's a risk.
that's an assumption of the risk.
Yeah.
Right. You have to assume that risk.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, so while it wasn't the Red Sox and it definitely wasn't the Oakland A's, for as long as they're going to be in Oakland, I think they're headed toward Vegas. Ohtani signed a contract with the Dodgers 2-3 days ago for $700 million.
Yeah, but he doesn't get it all till like the end, right?
Right. So I thought I had it printed out how that was going to be just determined. Oh, here it is.
Like $7 million a year, right?
It's an interesting thing. $700 million contract calls for him to be paid only $2 million a year for the next 10 seasons.
2 million. Yeah, okay.
With $680 deferred until the end of the deal. So I'm going to venture to say the following, and if I'm wrong, shoot me. But certainly feel free to comment about this. But I believe in our lifetime, for where Rocco and I are, if we really dial it back and look at huge, massive contracts of 10 years or more, the only one that actually ever worked out to fruition in our lifetime where the guy stayed there to the end,
okay,
I believe was the guy that came from the Cardinals to the Angels, the big slugger. His name escapes me now, but Albert Pujols.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He actually fulfilled that 10-year agreement. Most of these contracts, baseball will tell you sign for 10 years. It's a feel-good number.
Yeah.
But invariably, because of the way things go, injuries, decline in production, 5-7 years in, they're kind of like done, right? How the fuck does this work? Like, I know a bunch of attorneys got together and hammered out the deal, and there's no salary cap in baseball, but you're basically going to tell me that this guy is going to take $2 million a year for 10 years. And then at the end of it, the Dodgers are going to write this guy a check for $680 million.
Sounds like it.
Now, take the Dodgers out of it. Take baseball out of it. Let's say this was the Cozza Soccer League, right? That you now own, that plays in 4 or 5 different countries.
Okay.
Right? And it's a startup league. And you had a player that signed a contract like this. Is that $680 million at risk to this gentleman? Because even if the quote unquote contract was guaranteed, isn't there always the possibility that in year 10 of this or year 7 of this, the organization goes quote unquote bankrupt and he does not get that money?
Well, it depends on, and again, I don't know
is that
rules,
possible?
Potentially, but I don't know if the MLB Players Association has backing behind that, to prevent that from happening. But I don't know if there's some backstop there or not. That would make logical sense. Meaning if you get, because then every fucking organization would sign these huge ass deals and defer the payment out years, right? Think about that. If there was a way to get out of it, without going bankrupt, right? But just some financial hardship. These owners are savvy. They'd say, yeah, we'll give you $500 million. We'll give you $3 million a year for 10 years, and we'll give you the balance at the end of 10. And then they could put clauses in there like ownership changes. So I'm sure there's got to be some downside protection.
Do you think Ohtani should be nervous waiting 10 years for the large $680 million payout? If you were representing him, do you think that there's a risk to him there?
Well, there's definitely a risk to him, but then I don't understand the negotiation, right? It could have been a $300 million contract. If you took it, equally over the term, and they say you defer it, because we think we're going to make this much money off of you, we'll pay you $600. So it's kind of a calculated risk. And that's the thing. Every contract negotiation is different, right? Because he may be a dude that lives well below his means. I don't need that money, right? I don't need $100 million a year.
You might have made enough already.
Right. So I'm saying, so $2 million a year is just okay, that pays my expenses. I'm good.
But for 10 years.
I mean,
does it sound really risky? I mean, on the face of it,
it sounds
to the fan that reads that,
100%.
Again, I have no doubt. I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but I'm guessing the Dodgers are going to be around in 10 years.
Yeah,
it's a pretty fair bet. But you never really know.
No, you don't.
A lot of bad decisions along the way could bankrupt the team and still enable them to play in baseball under reorganization, all that. But the current ownership could go bankrupt.
But also think like how much draw can this guy bring, right?
Oh, I see the upside
That's
for the team.
yes, I mean they got like so I don't know what they make per year, like what their revenue is per year, but if say the Dodgers make 500 million a year in revenue or 100 or $1 billion a year, like I don't know what the teams make.
Yeah.
If he increases that by 10 or 20%,
I'm not saying it's a bad business deal for the Dodgers. Right. I'm saying it just seems like
it's a risk for him,
big
absolutely,
risk for him. It's such a minute amount of money out of the whole pot of 700. Such a minute amount of money.
Yeah, but he could also be looking at it from a tax perspective, right? Deferring taxes, right? I'll take smaller amounts now.
I mean, they're playing and living in California. So
I'm saying, like he could basically say, I'm going to get to the end of my contract, move my residence somewhere where I don't pay income tax on, take the money then, and you just save yourself fucking millions of dollars in taxes.
So you think there's some?
I mean, there's look. I think
it's unusual. Would you not admit?
Yeah, it's unusual, but I think when you're at that level, that's just not. Oh, sure. There's definitely a strategy to that.
Okay.
As to why they accepted that. I don't know what it is. There's definitely one.
Yeah, it just sounded like because you think about, and this is going to sound very unfair, but when I watch the NFL, in these times, and again, I try to look at it not as the old guy in the room,
okay,
but there seems to be, and I think social media perpetuates a little of this. It's a very much look at me kind of mentality with a lot of the athletes now. Like they want to get theirs. I want to get mines now. I get it. Careers are short and all that, but what a level. I mean, to get 700 million, but only take 2 million a year for 10 years, that level of trust seems very uncommon for the modern athlete.
He's also from Japan, right?
Bingo.
Different mentality.
Bingo.
Different mentality. Like that's where I see that comes from. Like it's a different. They are of a different mindset. So to him, it's not about the money; it's about the love of the game. So to him, it's probably like $2 million a year is great. Like
and getting to play where he wants to play.
Play where he wants. Yeah, exactly. And I'll defer the comp. I mean, cool, no problem. That's how I look at it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be completely wrong, but that's how I see it. I mean, from just an outsider's perspective.
All right, and then I want to wrap up here the esoteric question of the evening. I want to talk a little bit about your ideas on the concept of what principled leadership in business and politics means. What does it actually mean to be a principled leader?
I mean, I think it's very easy to answer. It's you understand what your values are and you operate in accordance with them. Like as a principled leader, like I believe I'm a principled leader, and I have certain values and beliefs I have, and I operate within those things. Like one of them is I would never ask an employee to do something I'm not willing to do. That's one of my values. Like I'm willing to do everything that I'm not above any bit of work. So that's one of my values. Like operate with integrity, intensity, excellence. Like you operate. That's what a principled leader is, right? They know what their true principles or guiding principles are in business or politics or life, and all the decisions they make and the things they do operate within those. To me, it's very simple.
I think those who excel in business, you can drill down and find a very principled leader at the core of it all. I think that's pretty fair to say. Would you not agree?
Oh, I mean, I think if you boil success down to a few basic elements, I think the first one is absolutely knowing your principles and values, right? And operating in accordance with them and being quick to make decisions. Like I think to be successful in business, you have to be a fast decision maker. You can't get caught in the weeds. You can't get caught up today. I mean, you have to do that. And I think you have to, the third thing I would say is you have to be super resilient. And I think we give up too easy these days. Like we're not willing to push through the pain. Like if you want pleasure, you have to push through pain. Like it's just the nature of the beast.
You need to earn the pleasure.
Right. And I think, the most successful people I know in my circle and people I've worked with and clients, they know what their values are, right? They operate in accordance with them. They make decisions fast and they do the hard shit. Like unsuccessful people or people that are not as successful are usually not doing one of those three.
Okay.
That's how I look at it.
Okay. So why is it such a difficult transition to expect principled leadership from our political leaders?
Different ball game, different stage, different stadium. I mean, think about it. I mean, in business, right? Like I'm my responsibility is to the 9 people in my firm, and then my clients, right? Politics, your responsibility is bigger. So I feel like a lot of politicians have what I would call fluid principles.
Okay.
They're situational principles. Like, in this situation, these are my principles, but in this situation, they change. It's like moral relativism. Like, I think politicians use that when it comes to their principles, right? I think in business, I can't do that. Like, if I change my principles based upon situations, my employees will be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I don't understand what's happening here. Like, why are you doing it this way over here and telling someone else something like different over here?
Okay.
We expect it from politicians. We don't expect politicians to shoot straight. That's why that's why Trump was so toxic, because he actually shot straight and he actually had principles. Whether you liked his principles or not, he had them and he stuck to them. Everybody's waiting for him to the other shoe to drop, like something different to happen. And it's just like, no, he was the same dude. He was arrogant and he was an asshole, but he knew what he wanted and he got it done. He said, this is what I'm going to do. And he did it. We're so used to politicians saying, this is what I'm going to do, but then I'm going to do this. And I'm going to tell these people I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. There's no principles behind it.
So this always befuddled me all through my years of paying attention to politics.
Okay.
I really never knew what the quote unquote right answer would be, or the correct answer would be.
Okay.
You get a politician who feels a certain way morally, or whether it's their moral conviction, maybe it's a religious conviction, or whether they just feel what's right, and they have a staunch reputation for feeling a certain way about something.
Okay,
they enter into politics and they look at the lay of the land and they study it, because you have to maneuver and you have to strategize and you have to compromise. Would you rather have a politician vote their belief in something, even when they know for certain that their region that they're representing statistically overwhelmingly believes something different?
That's a good question.
So I said, once in a while I come up with one, but meaning that as a consumer of our political system, as an elector, as a citizen, what would you rather? Would you rather have them vote their conscience, even when their voting representation block there overwhelmingly disagrees with their moral conviction?
So I will answer that with a question. Why did that person get elected then? If they're so morally off from the populace they represent.
Great question. It could be just one issue. Okay, you can take the abortion issue, you can take gun rights, whatever it is. Let's just say some of those unfortunate litmus test issues that people become one issue voters.
Sure,
over.
I'd rather have a politician that I knew their position from day one and they stuck to their position, whether I agree with it or not. I agree with the principled politician. And if that politician says, I am principally against this, and even if the whole demographic this politician represents goes the other way, if they stick to their conviction, their principles, then to me, that's a principled politician.
Okay.
That's how I look at it.
Okay. So I am absolutely identical.
Okay.
So I posed this question to multiple people over on some of our panel shows, and none of you've been on. But I've gotten pretty much, for the most part, the opposite response from people.
Okay.
They want the gist of what I've gotten back. The feedback is that most of these folks want their politician to, even some have said, do what's right by the people that you represent. If they're overwhelmingly for this, although it fundamentally is not what you believe, you have an obligation, Mr. or Mrs. Politician, to vote on behalf of the majority of your elected group. They actually want the politician to go out there and kind of feel the room, feel the idea of what side of the equation on that issue their voting block of representation lands, and then go that direction. That's their idea of their politician fulfilling their duties, not voting their conscience.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Then they don't want a principled politician. They want a puppet as a politician.
That's how I propose.
They want.
It was an interesting conversation.
They want the person to do what the majority says, But here's the thing: the majority voted the person into office.
Mhm.
So the person you voted into office is not going to agree with every issue.
And that right, and that bingo, and that's my point. Case in point, like you have, and I'm not even going to get into the weeds. I'm just going to say you have issue X, Y, and Z. So you're looking at this candidate because your little county there looks at this candidate and he agrees with X and Y, doesn't agree with Z. That's 2 out of 3. I want to vote for this guy. He's more in alignment with me.
But then Z comes up to vote.
And most of your district is it wants the other section. But are you going to be upset if this person votes their conscience, or do you think they have an obligation to take the aggregate of what their representatives people believe and then vote that way?
No, because if your obligation is to change your principles when the aggregate of the population you represent disagrees with you, that's an impossible standard. Where do you draw the line, right? Do I have to go out and talk to every single person?
I think that happens a lot, because I think
but think about just the common sense of it, right? I represent 100,000 people. Okay, there's 3 major issues. The majority of them agreed. I don't know who. I got the majority of the vote, right? Because 2 out of the 3 of the issues people agree with. I don't know which 2 they were, right? Now the 3rd issue comes up to vote, and I have this principle A. I'm being told my population has principle B. I don't know who, right? They could say they're in the majority, but they might just be the loudest in the room.
Yeah.
Unless I go out and poll and talk to every single person in that district, there was never going to be an exact science to it. No one's ever going to be happy. So I'd rather have a politician that knows what their principles are and votes on their principles,
even though it may disagree.
With part of the people that voted for you.
I agree.
At least I know what I'm getting and I know what to expect. Because if I'm one of the other people and this dude just flips, I may not think I'm the majority. I'm like, why is this asshole flipping? Like, that's not what I want. I don't want a politician to change just because someone yelled at him.
Blowing in the wind.
Right, exactly. That's bullshit.
But I was surprised to get the feedback I got. And the more I sat and thought about it, and the more I read online, and I watched some essays on it, it really, there's a good amount, and I can't give you stats. I'm not going to try. There are people, large swaths of people, that would prefer that their politicians represent the majority opinion in their congressional districts. And I'm like, how can you even determine? We're not a democracy. We're a republic.
We're a republic.
How can you even determine that to be accurate, though?
Correct. You can't. I mean? Unless you literally poll every single person in your district. You can't.
That's why, like, the Republicans, why this all got spurred up is because the Republicans, and have been for at least a couple cycles now, are at a crossroads in regards to the abortion issue, whereas the Democrats use the abortion issue as almost as a litmus test on their side.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of conservatives that are against it fundamentally.
Yeah.
And those that vote their conscience and can't go for it, maybe in voting districts of Republicans that have come to terms with it and are actually either don't care or they don't want it to stop the progress of the entire conservative movement. You see what I'm trying to say? So they are in a position, do they vote their conscience or do they capitulate to the...
I think you still got to vote your conscience. I think you still got to, I want a politician that has a backbone. I want a politician that has principles and sticks to the principles. If I'm in a business, I want a leader that has their principles, right? Your opinions can change, right? And principles can change over time as long as there's new information, right? Don't just change a principle because someone else said you should change it.
Like whispered in your ear.
Correct. Like if you take in new information, do a new analysis, and your opinion then changes, okay, I'm okay with that. But don't just change your vote because a bunch of people got pissed at a rally and yelled at you saying you're not listening to the majority.
Or a lobbyist took you to dinner.
Correct. Like that's the thing. I don't want that. I don't want a politician like that. That corrupts the system.
So I would venture to say too, there may be a portion of the voting bloc out there that thinks that that's the correct way they should be representing us. They should be taking the temperature of the congressional folks they represent or the state they represent if you're a senator, and voting the majority of opinion in your particular state / party.
So they want basically a pure democracy, right?
Like, the illusion of it.
Right, but we're a republic, right? We elect someone to represent the people, not to count the people's votes and vote how the majority. It's like we elected, this is the best person we think to represent the majority of us in government. That doesn't mean this person to come out and count and take a tally of all of us every time something comes up to a vote. Because again, where do you draw the line, right?
So
if it's the abortion issue, okay. But then if it's like, hey, I don't want to give money to fucking the study of like fucking Japanese frogs in the Mon Valley, like people fucking spend money on that stuff. Like, what if I'm vehemently against that? Are they supposed to poll me on that? And is this politician, if they vote for that, am I like, what the fuck?
So let me ask you this. So, because I'm in agreement with you 100%, but I don't have an answer for the following question. When the counter is to me, then if that's how your particular guy or gal is going to operate, it's purely on principle, then are the town hall meetings under the guise of listening to what the people want, are they all a charade?
No, it's not. Why would that be a charade?
I'm just telling you what I've been told. I'm at the question that was posed to me.
So, okay. So let's analyze that. So you're saying this person asked you that, well, isn't that just a ruse then? If they have a town hall, if they have a town hall and they're listening to people, but voting how they want to anyways, okay, the town hall is for the people to understand the politician. And for the politicians, like, it's one thing if the politician came to that town hall and lied and said, I believe in this, this, and this, and voted the complete opposite. That's a problem. I don't think that happens. I think they go there, they have open discussions, they listen to what the people say. That doesn't mean no town hall, I believe, has ever been premised with, I'm going to listen to you, and whoever the majority of the people in this room say we should do is what we're going to do.
I think there's a
well, the people are fucking delusional if they think that. They're delusional.
Naive
a town hall is that we are going to have a discussion to a large group of people so you can learn about me, I can learn about you, we're going to have differences. That's okay. I want to show you that either way, I'm still the best person for the job. That's what it is. It's not for me to come in and say, there's 100 people in this room, 75 of them don't like this, I can't vote for that. Like, that's not what that's not the point of it.
Well, I think the idea to broaden that out a little
bit. That's stupidity to even think
that. Think that you're taking the temperature. If you do enough of those in your congressional area, you're out there taking the temperature of, like, and to me, that's the definition that's the definition of an unprincipled person. If you're out there seeing which way the flag is flying at this particular day, whatever the wind's blowing, and then trying to govern from that.
That's not what a town hall is for. The people to learn about the politician, to get the votes of the people so the people can know about me, the politician running. It's not for me to go out and analyze the people so I know what to vote on. Like, my platform is my
absolutely misconception.
Listen, but think about it, my platform is my platform. If I come out and say I'm going to run for office, I want lower taxes, less government. That's my two platform positions, right? But I go to all these town halls and talk to these people. They're like, fuck it. We want big government and we want to raise taxes. I'm not going to change my principles. I'm just not going to get elected.
Right.
Like, that's what then if these people elect me, then they do really believe in my principles, or they wouldn't have put me in office. So then I'm not going to change because they said one thing, but their actions dictated something else.
Yeah.
Like, that just doesn't make any sense.
And I also think town halls can be town halls are the idea of going out and meeting, having regular meetings with people within your congressional district, and can happen where you have not the big ticket issues, but you have a particular issue that runs aground. Let's say a new mall wants to come in, a new highway wants to come in, and it isn't like, and maybe as a congressional person, you could be, well, I'm not really sure. I don't live there, so I want to take the temperature of what they're. That's different. That's not a big global decision.
Yeah, that's an informational session. Yes, that is an informational session.
Right.
Like, we represent municipalities. We've been in municipalities where they have town halls because this is a new issue, new things coming to the area. Correct. We don't know what people want. And we're politicians. We never face this issue. We want to talk to all of you and see what makes the most sense. We're going to take that information and then also do what's best for what we believe.
But there's people are oversimplifying it and conflating.
Of course they are.
I mean, they're lumping big issues in, fundamental philosophical, moral issues in with, a new plant construction somewhere.
Yeah, when you are a politician running for office and you're doing town halls, it is for the people to get to know me.
100%.
That's what it is, plain and simple. And if people don't understand that, then I don't know what to tell them, how to help them.
With that.
That's it, man.
Another week in the can.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Absolutely.
We'll see you again. Be good to each other.
Yes.
And
be kind.
Have fun.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. We're out.